So obviously, you know that like me and all my friends and your friends, because we are friends,
Yeah.
ended up, loving this show. But what I really like about the documentary is that it is very much, for the most part, about the Beast to Hell's Kitchen kind of transition and
Yeah.
how Connor came into it. And so for you guys, was it always important to make sure that that was the focus, even when, as you were editing, the show had shifted so much into kind of what George Lucas is now?
Yeah, I mean it was so weird because it we really thought this was going to be done in 2020.
Hmm.
You know? Like the plan was let's release this documentary in 2020 and then obviously the world decided that wasn't going to be the case. So it really the main thrust of the doc was going to be, set in Hell's Kitchen and set in where we left the show in 2019, 2020. So when obviously more stuff happened with the show and it became this streaming behemoth. I think that's a good word for it. A
Yeah.
behemoth. It became not really our thing anymore. Uh, that changed the thrust of the doc, and um I think that had it come out in 2020, like it would have been a much different thing, and it would have ended on such a different note of like sort of uncertainty where, the doc starts with them asking Connor, are you going to be doing this in 5 years? And he's like, I have no idea. And that was sort of the original ending for that doc is just like, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing it. It's just going to keep going on as this, niche thing. But because it became the streaming thing, it added this new happier ending and new uh uh note to end on where it was like, well, now people know what this is. And it's sort of, still a very niche, small number of people know what this is. Uh,
And Rachel Zegler.
and Rachel Zegler. Yeah. It's very bizarre. Anytime she interacts with anything that has to do with the show, it's still bizarre. Um,
But yeah, I
I
told
don't
her
know.
I knew you.
I
I
don't know
knew
if I answered your question, but I rambled a little bit.
you did. Yeah, I ran into her at like the Broadway Flea, and like me and my other friend Rachel took a picture, all three of us, because we thought it's dumb and funny that we're
Yeah.
all Rachel. And
Yeah.
afterwards, like, just to be for real, I was like, this was a dumb bit me and my friend always talked about. But also, I know Patrick. She went, "What world?" I was like, "Yeah." So
I
don't.
think it's very funny. Anytime someone bothers her about our show, I think it's very, very funny. And I've texted her being like, I'm so sorry that it happens. And she says, no, I love it. Because I think it breaks up the weird monotony of like,
Yeah,
interviews or whatever that she has to do.
it's like you
Uh,
like the George Lucas show.
so stupid.
Well, what I like both before I watched the movie, I was angry at this person, and then I got came around and was like, "This is fine." Someone on Letterboxd was like
Yes.
talked about this documentary as a fan of
Yeah.
the new show, and they were like, "Oh, this isn't the show I know," and I was like, "Yeah, but many of us also have had to adapt to the new show. Like, it's not just for
For
you.
sure.
All found friends." But I do think that's a testament to the George Lucas talk show that friend groups come no matter what version it is, because like
Mhm.
we all were friends during that first iteration of the show at the Beast, and then
Yeah.
when it was Hell's Kitchen, we also were all a group of friends, and then now it's a whole different kind of thing for groups.
Yeah.
For what, and I do like that this includes people who just like liked the show as well. Was that always the intention with it, or was it just as you guys were working on the documentary, you realized having people who went to the show so often were an important part of the process?
No, I think that was always part of including people who were at the show was always a part of it just because it's such a big part of that show, especially, I mean, it is now, but also especially during the Beast. Like, you had Taylor Manborg making the bingo cards and, people showing up in costume, Mary Ellen DeVivo, dressing up as Jar Jar or, whatever it was. Like, it was always such a big part of it. And it's just sort of shifted the people that uh are there every week have shifted. Like Mary Ellen still comes when we do shows in New York. You still come when we do shows in New York. Leah still come. Like all these people are not all these people, a lot of these people are still there when we do live shows, but now it's just like also a different group of people that are quote unquote always there. And I don't think you could make the documentary without talking about uh these weirdos, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean that in the nicest way, in the most
Yeah,
loving way. These
affectionate.
weirdos who come to these things, it would not, it wouldn't feel like it was the real story unless you were talking about these people who also came to these things, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so
I
I
was
don't think
surprised
that
Chris didn't make it.
not including that was never an option.
Yeah, I was surprised Chris didn't make it because he's still at the New York shows. I see him just sitting in the audience. He used to come and sit by himself and he would sit right
Yeah.
up front.
Yeah. I don't
And I
know if
see
they,
him at the New York one still.
yeah, I wonder if they talked to him. I have no idea.
But I
The
was
nice
like,
thing about this documentary is like we did help out, but it's also someone else's thing,
yeah,
you know? Like
yeah,
it's their thing. They edited it, they did it, they whatever. We just uh I don't think it would have been a good documentary had we done it ourselves because they were able to have the outsider's perspective, outsider's eye. Um and it was uh it was nice to not have to deal with it. And it's nice now to be like, that's the director, that's the producer, they did it. When it needs to get sold, it's their thing. When it needs to be, released to the public, it's their thing, and that's great.
yeah. Because I was gonna say it was like it would just be dumb bits on dumb bits that
Yeah,
we like that we all knew, but no
for
one else.
sure.
Because I
Yeah,
was thinking about that, like because you didn't really have like the final say of what got included. Was there a moment from either Hell's Kitchen or The Beast that you do wish got shouted out? Because I was sitting there thinking, like, man, John Hamm didn't even make an appearance.
I know.
Things
I
like,
know. Yeah, I mean, the thing that was nice was that forever, since the beginning, I shot the shows with
mm,
my iPhone in the front row, like it's just so we would have them as an archive for ourselves. And then never thinking they would be used for anything. And then this thing comes along and it's like, oh, holy shit, I have all
all
of this footage that you can use. Um, yeah, Ham didn't get shouted out, which is interesting. He's in maybe one of the photos.
mm,
A lot of the footage also we you I don't know the legality. You don't have to ask somebody if you're using it. But a lot of the footage was like, oh, that's our friend. It will be fine. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Rather than having to go back out to someone and getting sent to their agent or whatever, being like, hey, we have this footage from 10 years ago. Can you watch it and make sure it's fine? Like we didn't have to deal with that, which was nice. And I think that was the deciding factor for a lot of quote unquote what was going to be included in it. Um, what do I wish was included? I mean, there's a nice shot. There's a lot of deleted stuff from this documentary. Like there was a whole section where we talked about the prom that came. There was a bunch of kids who came after their prom to the show back when it was a midnight show, and then eventually got up on stage and danced with um what is her name? Natasha Rothwell
yeah.
and Drew Johnson, and a whole bunch of people. And there's a section that got deleted that was a part of that. But I keep pushing for a Blu-ray, so we can include all that stuff. That's the goal. The goal is a Blu-ray. And you know what? I'm going to stake my claim right now. If a Blu-ray happens, something we have spoken about is Connor and I want to do more commentaries than have ever been done on any DVD or Blu-ray. That is the goal. I
17
want,
hour day or 12-hour day, but
yeah, 12-hour day. I want 13 commentaries on there. That's the idea. We'll see if it happens. Um, yeah, I don't God, now I'm like trying to think of like what happened.
you do
I
have to have
feel like you
a
would
section there
I
that's
feel like
just,
you would know better than I would know.
I was just gonna say you guys should have a section that is just because I keep talking about Griffin Newman's one man show as Watto
Oh,
being the
sure.
last thing I saw at UCB
I know.
ever. It was
I
like
know.
that's UCB now. It's just
Yeah.
the one man show of Watto.
I know. It's one of those things where like there's so many things that happened that you're like, I wish you could talk about everything. But even like the Griffin one man show, it doesn't fit the Connor
Yeah.
narrative. So it's just like if you talked about everything, this thing would be 7 hours long. Um, yeah, I don't know. Ham was nice. I like I always wish there was more footage from the show. You
Mhm.
know, like that in the doc. I think but it's also hard to show things because so much of it becomes so context dependent because of the insane bullshit that it turns into through the show. Like if you showed a clip from 95% of the show, you'd be like, what is this? What is happening? And you need that context, which makes it hard to put it into a documentary, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Ham stuff was great. I wish there's so much Jar Jar stuff from the early days that would have been great to put in there. Um, and it's, there's too much. I don't have a good answer for that. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Because I was sitting there like the minute I saw Connor singing "Man Who Sold the World" to
Oh,
Disney,
I know.
I saw a JD and I was like, let JD just do the whole read. I
Yes, the
was like,
JD
let
just
him do it.
JD, just so you have me saying this, JD Amato did a 15-minute recap of Labyrinth, which was insane. It's his favorite movie, and he just like fully plowed through doing all that. Yeah, that's a good episode too, because Brian McCann was in it.
It was the Bowie tribute
Yeah,
episode.
it was a Bowie tribute one. Forgot about that.
I will
Yeah, him
say,
singing that song is so funny.
given your now fan base has shifted to not only like everyone who would come to the shows, but also an online fan base,
Yeah.
could have like do like the Doctor Who of it all and be like,
Hmm.
here's an episode, but now you don't have the second one, and like do just a dumbass bit that
Sure.
is slowly releasing episode of the George Lucas talk show on YouTube.
Very funny. Yeah, I wish we could put them out. It's one of those things where I'm like, is it better for them to live just as they did, forever in your memory, instead of shakily shot from an iPhone on my lap 20 feet away. But
Okay,
then
the
also you got
actors are playing flying in front of cameras.
yes, yes. But then also it's just like you got to send it back to somebody to be like, hey, remember that thing you did? We actually filmed it, and then it becomes like it's a slippery slope, because
Yeah.
then you need everyone to sign off on stuff. But I do like the idea of those just living in people's memories as events and moments in time, but just know also I have them all.
They
They're
exist
all
somewhere
they're
out
all out there. Yeah.
there.
Maybe sometime.
A Tamanac
Once
as Alec Guinness is out there in the internet.
yes. Once here's my promise. Once everyone's dead, they'll
Yeah.
all get released. They'll all come out into the public eye.
The minute John Hamm dies,
Yes.
going on the internet. Um, I will say for my last question, with something
Yeah.
like that does, really connect with people who were there when it was happening, and now this new group getting to look back and see
Yeah.
Jar Jar and see all of the stuff that we saw at midnight. What has been the most exciting part for you of getting to see this release, but also see the reaction from people who were at Slam Fest and or Slam Dance and like getting to see what they think of the
Yeah.
doc?
Yeah, I mean, I think the doc covers such a very specific moment in time that is just gone.
Mhm.
Like, and that's a very sad thing to say, but like that pre-pandemic time is gone forever, And watching them like go to my old apartment and see a bunch of people because I don't live in New York anymore, like see a bunch of people that I don't see anymore. It's just like it's a very nice reminder of that wild time in my life and our lives hanging out in New York and like a New York that doesn't exist anymore and like a theater that doesn't exist anymore, and that's very sad, but it's also like I'm so happy and grateful that the timing of it worked out uh that is forever preserved, and the thing that was nicest about going to Slam Dance was so many people there had never heard of us or had never seen the show, which is right. They're in the correct. You should not know what this is. You know what I mean? Like, and coming out of it being like, oh my gosh, I enjoyed that so much. It was so nice to like feel like I was involved in this community that I was not in, and not because I didn't want to be, just because like I had no idea. Like, there's so many things out there in the world for people to watch uh and this was something that I just had no idea was a thing. So having those people come up to you after the screening is very weird and very cool. To be like, hey, I liked what I saw. I'm gonna go watch more stuff, but also I've seen the inside of your old apartment. You know what I mean? Like it's very weird. Um, it's very weird to be able to talk about the show as us at this point. Uh, and show people, hey, this is what we've been working on. This is the dumb thing that we've been making for a frickin' decade now this month.
Hmm.
Uh, which is crazy. So I'm happy that it exists, and I'm happy that people get to see it. And the film festival crowd is not a comedy crowd, So like it's a different group of people, and I think that has been the coolest thing so far. Also, like going to that screening and having Georgie Porges be there uh is crazy. Like seeing people that I know from the internet, quote unquote, know from the internet coming out to Utah to come see us at this festival was wild and fun and cool. And I'm excited for the next couple of months because, we're going to be showing the doc some more and getting to actually show it to people who know the show and people in our home turf, will be a new, different experience. And I'm psyched to see the wider reaction, versus just the film festival crowd. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for, the whole crew from back in the Beast to
Yeah.
get to see it. I will
Yeah.
say Connor's mom called out my favorite thing about the George Lucas talk show, which was standing at the desk talking to my friends when I interned,
Uh-huh.
and people come
Yeah.
up going, "Is actual George Lucas here?"
Sure.
And we all had to be like, "No,
No.
not here at a midnight show
No.
in the East Village."
Someday he'll be there. That's my hopeful promise to you, the reader, and you, the listener, is that maybe someday. It is funny, it still happens. It's still like we still get people asking. Yeah. Or though I mean the worst is like when a guest or someone asks, and you're like, oh no,
You
someone
you
didn't prep you on this.
you didn't realize it is a
Yeah.
bit? Like it's
Yes,
not
yes,
George
yes.
Lucas.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, someday George will be there. I don't know. I hope so. I assume he knows about us at this point. I have to assume because it's gotten so close to him and we've gotten so many people in his inner circle, even more than the viewer will
Hmm.
know about this. And I think he has to know. And I think if he had a problem with it, we would have been gone at this point, which I think Connor talks about in the documentary. Like
Yes.
we would have gotten a cease and desist or whatever. So like I think it has to be fine. And I think as long as we don't bother him, maybe those confused people at the desk will someday be in for a treat and see the actual George there.
But he would have to come out in Connor's place. Like that would have to be the bit.
Well, that's the confusing thing is like, how do you do this? Or is it one of the freaking SNL walk-ons that, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second, like whatever
Or they just come in
Bernie
from different
Sanders.
doors. So and it's
That's
still a
true.
Bowie song, but it's just
Yeah.
Connor on
Or
one
he
side.
comes out, or he comes out dressed as Watto, you know?
Yeah, he takes over. Or just
Maybe
make
that's
make him come in as Sir Alec Guinness and he just replaces the Tamina.
sure.
And we finally
Yeah,
get back to Sir Alec Guinness as the
man.
co-host.
So many possibilities, all of them bad, but so many possibilities.
That's how the show would have to end. You guys could not do
I
another
know.
episode of
I
George
know.
Lucas.
I don't know how you go on after that. Or it's when it should have ended. And it'll be the thing that people talk about is like, well, they should have stopped there, but they
Yeah.
didn't. And that's more realistic.
The next guest is like someone who's famous on Twitter. Because they're like,
Yes.
one's famous on Twitter.
I don't know how you go. There's nowhere to go up from there.
I love it.
So
Uh,
silly.
Obviously, I love the documentary, so thank you for talking with me. I'm just
Yeah.
stating this so that if anyone hasn't got it, we are friends. So it is
Yes.
a wonderful conversation between
Yes. Yes.
uh
Yeah. I would never admit it, but we are friends.
yeah. Getting Patrick to admit he's friends with any of his friends, pulling teeth.
Yes. Yes. No, we are friends, and I'm very happy that you enjoyed it. I'm very happy that you come to the show, continue to come to the show. and continue to support the show. And we love it. We appreciate it.